Isn't this incredible? Just 4 months ago, these were just branches on this tree. And now, look at that. Flowers are pushing in the middle of summer. Little Leaf Lilac. Who doesn't like a flowering bonsai with small leaves that ramifies well, creates a nice fat trunk, and every year again flowers just without any effort? I know I do. This Little Leaf Lilac tree is one of those species. The problem is, if you go to a store, you usually find them grafted upon another tree. Now, these grow from cuttings really easy. Let me show you how I do this. Every year in early spring, as the flower buds are swelling and starting to get color, I look at the tree. It has grown considerably already in this spring, so in order to enjoy the flowers more, I prune back these longer whips, the very young branches, to the first 2 leaves. And I'm left with cuttings, well, maybe 6 leaves. I store these in a little bit of water just to make sure they don't dry out while I prune the whole tree. Now, after pruning, I go and find some substrate. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions on the substrate that I use for rooting my cuttings. And to be honest, what is in the bottom of the pot, I truly don't believe it matters all that much. What I do think is important is the top layer. And this is where I use vermiculite. This is a very light substrate. It's very airy. It holds water extremely well, but at the same time remains aerated. So I use that in the top, 2-3 centimeters, maybe an inch. I top up these pots. Then I water them well, I punch holes, and that is where I stick the cuttings. And then I water them down again. So to me, this is what makes it work. I use a rooting hormone. This is Clonex. It's just a brand. You can use, of course, any rooting hormone that you like. Now, I clip off the ends of the cuttings before I stick them into the rooting hormone, because these have been sitting around for half an hour and I like a fresh cut to interact with the hormones. These I just let sit for a couple of minutes and then I plant them in the vermiculite. Another key component in getting good cuttings, of course, is that you use very sharp, clean scissors. You want a smooth cut, you don't want to crush the end. Crushed ends don't root. It needs to be a clean cut. I don't think it matters whether you cut directly at a node or not. So yeah, I don't pay attention to that all that much with these. I find these root very easily. I water it well and then I put it in a plastic baggie. This plastic baggie I then put in the shade. I don't give them full sun for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Effectively, half an hour to an hour of sun every morning is enough to get these to root. It's June. These Little Leaf Lilac cuttings are still green. They have expanded enormously. The baggie has been open for a few weeks. So now I'm slowly opening it further. But look at that. They're all quite happy. Another 2 or 3 weeks like this and then I probably will put them in full sun. But for now they remain in the shade with just an hour or so of sun in the early morning. Right, we're early July. These have now been outside of the baggie for quite a while and I thought I might as well pot them up individually. And if you're doing this at home, and I've been getting comments, I would not do it this way if I were you. I'm just doing it to demonstrate that these have rooted. But you can just leave these in the container for the rest of the year and just over winter pull them out and pot them up. Now I am reusing substrate. This came out of a pot and I think it was an olive that I repotted yesterday. I don't worry too much about the substrate being clean or sterile or not, because in the garden nothing is clean. Well, let me get these out of the pot and I'll plant them up and I'll show you the roots as I go. Perfect roots. Perfect roots. Unbelievable. Look at these. Look at how well these have rooted. And in fact, yeah. Each and every one having great roots, multiple roots on each cut side. Look at that. Now some of these roots are quite long for the small pots and I'm just going to clip off these ends, aiding in the further development of the side roots. And with that a more compact root ball later on. And then it's just a matter of filling these little pots with a little bit of substrate, putting the cutting on and filling it up further. Now if I'm really taking an effort, I try to push the roots out a little bit as I'm planting it, which will aid later on in the nebari. But be careful, because these roots are very delicate. They break with the slightest touch. This is also a reason for doing this in early spring rather than now. But I think this is helpful because now you see actually what sort of roots have developed for these cuttings. Now these two, they have such great roots that I'm just going to pot them up in a bigger pot straight away, and hopefully they will develop a little bit quicker, and I might actually decide to keep one of those myself. All the rest of these I think will come for sale in early spring. So here I just fill a pot with substrate, and it's really important now that I get these roots as evenly spread out in the pot as possible. But they're still too long, so I'm still going to clip off these long ends. And now I have 4 or 5 roots that are nicely distributed in the pot. This of course aids in developing a better nebari later on. As these roots are very fragile, don't press down on the pots, just a slight tapping and shaking, and then watering is enough to get them settled in. And now of course it's important that for the next couple of days they are not placed in full sun. They really need to establish in these pots. So I'm just going to put these in the shed for a week or 2, and then they go back outside. Well, depending on the timing of my videos, this one might come out within a couple of weeks, or I might wait a little bit and show you these as they are growing. Well, I lost one due to transplanting. The rest is all doing well. These are not extending. They actually need a little bit of fertilizer. You can see the yellowing of the leaves with dark green veins. That's a clear lack of fertilizer. But here's the ones in the bigger pot. Extension and new extension as well. So these will all live, and actually I think in spring these will flower. Isn't this incredible? Just 4 months ago, these were just branches on this tree. And now, look at that. Flowers are pushing in the middle of summer. Little Leaf Lilac, growing like crazy and on their way to become a small bonsai. If I don't do another update, this was Jelle, growing bonsai, and showing you how to root lilac. Little Leaf Lilac. Really great for bonsai and hardly ever seen as a bonsai. So consider growing them. They do grow quite fast once established.